Let us begin our third session of today's agenda, Sharia Investing, Our Roles and Responsibilities. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to share a brief introduction on our notable panelists before I invite them to the stage. So our first panelist for today is Ustaz Ahmad Husni, who is a Senior Manager of the Sharia and International Relations Unit at Pusat Pungutan Zakat MAIWP since 2005. He is also involved in various committees, including the Committee for Corporate and Sharia Research of PPZAC, Committee for Distribution of Wakalah Zakat, and Zakat Distribution Committee for PT-PTN. In addition, he serves as the Chairman of the Sharia Committee for Awaris and is a member of the Sharia Committee for Affin Islamic Bank Berhad and SME Bank Berhad. Next, we have Mustakim Mohamad, who currently serves as the Executive Director of Group Finance at Lembaga Tabung Haji, where he has contributed for more than 20 years in various capacities encompassing financial, investment and operations management. Previously, Mustakim assumed the role of Acting Chief Financial Officer, stepping in for Datuk Marina Abu Tahir following her resignation last year. And our next panelist is Datuk Hamdan Abdul Majeed, who is the Managing Director of Think City, a social purpose organisation with the mission of making cities more people-friendly, resilient and livable. Encik Hamdan has actively been involved in shaping urban policy and plans in Malaysia, including more recently Penang 2030, a state government initiative with the vision of a family-oriented, green and smart Penang. Prior to assuming his role as Managing Director of Think City, he was a former Director of Investment at Khazanah. And now, a brief introduction for our moderator. Encik Rushdan Muhammad Nadzir is the Head of Group Shariah Services at CGS Malaysia, with over 30 years of experience in investment banking, with the last 3 years spent on building the regional Shariah business for the company. Specializing in equity capital market, institutional sales and Shariah compliant investment, Rushdan uses that experience to enhance CGS socially responsible investing offerings to clients. Distinguished guests, let me invite our esteemed panelists, Ustaz Husni, Encik Mustakim, Datuk Hamdan and our moderator, Encik Rushdan, to the stage for this next session. Please welcome, and dear audience, feel free to share questions via the QR code.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon. So I was telling the panelists that actually today I'm on a suicide mission, taking on the third session, graveyard shift, and after session moderated by KJ, kan? So very tall order, but we'll try our best to keep it as lively as possible. I know, it's will be tough. Now we have our tummy full, and especially it's been quite a long day. But anyway, thank you very much for still here with us, especially those actually joining us virtually. And please do continue to stay online. And because after our session, there will be stock market outlook by our Sharizan. So definitely will be very useful session for everyone. But anyway, let's start our session, because I think the way we actually organize this conference is actually we start with the ecosystem, and then after that we go through products, and then the actually practical implementations. So this third session, we are looking at the roles and responsibilities as investors. Tanggungjawab kita lah sebagai investors, be it from the corporates or asset managers punya perspective or individual. So I think the first session tadi Tan Sri and Tan Sri Azman will talk about maqasid, and also after that they delve also into moving away from halalan to halalan thayyiban in terms of the actually substance over form. So I think probably we're going to start this session with let's talk about the ecosystem maqasid and what it means, and how as investors we can play our part in this whole maqasid ecosystem. Maybe we'll start with Ustaz, yeah. Silakan Ustaz.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah wa syukurillah wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ba'du. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Allahumma la sahla illa ma ja'altahu sahla wa anta taj'alul hazna idza syi'ta sahla. Rabbana yassir lana wa la tu'assir wa atmim lana bil khair. Thank you, Mr. Moderator, esteemed panelists. And first of all, I would like to thank CJS International and also Pusat, on top of that, for giving me this wonderful opportunity at this wonderful time after lunch, and also in this very freezer-like hall. Freezer-like. You are feeling hot. I'm feeling very cold. And of course, speaking in front of Tan Sri, you know how lah, kan? Okay. All right. To begin with, I would like to attract everybody about our main responsibility. We are here as a Khalifah of Allah. What's the meaning of Khalifah? We are here to govern the world according to what Allah Subhanahu wa Taala wants us to do. It's stated in Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter number 3, verse number 30. I'm feeling like Zakir Naik right now. Okay. وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. When Allah Subhanahu wa Taala stated to the malaikah that He want to appoint Khalifah, a person, a human being, and it was debated by the angels. The angels asked Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, why do you want to put people that always doing harm, killing each other, thirsty for a bloodshed and whatnot? But Allah said, I know what you don't know. I will put one single quality of a humankind, and that it's iman, and also they have their aql, which they can use to understand and to learn. And our part of a Khalifah is to utilize this world, because the angels, they don't eat, they don't drink, they don't, if they are in this world, they don't eat durian, they cannot eat the 24 Musang King. We all eat the 24 Musang King, what? And it's going to be a waste. But when human come into this world, they have a specific rule to utilize the world and to make it better and to preserve. When we are talking about the maqasid of the ESG and whatnot, we are going to preserve the world. Islam has been seriously talking about this since thousands of years before. When he ordered Adam to be in this world, the main purpose is to preserve, utilize, and also preserve. Okay, and then what next? Okay, when we talk about wealth, okay, everybody loves wealth. Allah Subhanahu wa Taala stated in the Quran also, وَتُحِبُّونَ الْمَالَ حُبًّا جَمًّا. You all love all kinds of wealth with no bound, endless love of, limitless love of wealth. Okay, and what are the purpose of wealth? The purpose of wealth is to give happiness. Some say that I can gain happiness with wealth. Some say that I can gain happiness with health. Some say that I can gain happiness with 2 or 3 wives. Some said, okay? But our point is that wealth is also to be utilized according to what Allah Subhanahu wa Taala needs. Okay, I want to first relate what are the relation between doing good deeds, because I'm from Zakat Authority, and what are the correlation between Zakat and also the wealth, or what we call that, investment. Investment, when we talk about stock market, when we talk about capital market, when we talk about money market, we are talking about growing our wealth from 1 to 100, and from 100 to 1,000. And as Datuk Asri said just now, from 300 to 3,000 in the split second. Kan? Kita buat tawarruk pun split second. leg 1, leg 2, leg 3, leg 4, every leg split second. We are doing gold, buying gold in a split second. Also investment split second ayo kan. So people are gaining that. But do Islam recognize this? Yes, because there is a common or main characteristic, shared factors between investment and also doing good deeds such as zakat, sadaqah, waqaf and whatnot. The main factors of investment is to gain, to get the reward, to manifold our wealth, to increase the wealth. That is the main of investment. The main objective of we are doing investment. And also Allah Subhanahu wa taala stated that in the Quran, mathalul ladina yunfiquna amwalahum fi sabilillah kamathali habbatin anbatat sab'a sanabila fi kulli sumbulatin mi'atu habba wallahu yudha'ifu liman yasha wallahu wasi'un alim. You can read the subtitle down. Allah states in chapter number 3, verse number 261. In the Quran, Allah says that Allah do an analogy for those who spend their wealth in concordance with what Allah Subhanahu wa taala asks us to do. Fi sabilillah, for the sake of Allah Subhanahu wa taala, is like a grain being planted into a soil, and then the grain grow 7 years. And from that 7 years, each year grow and bear 100 grains. Okay? You can do the mathematics. 1 times 7 and times 100. And you got, what do you get? I'm not the accountant over here. You all the accountant, you all the remiser, you all the fund manager. Do the mathematics. This is what we call compounding effect. That we do want the compounding effect in our investment, right? And also we want the compounding effect. This is for the investment, not here, but for the hereafter. That was complete the investment in this world and the investment in the hereafter. Wallahu alam, just to make an... okay, thank you.
Okay. Nanti di subtitle tu bila boleh share? Nanti.
Kena tekan dekat Netflix. Dia kena tekan.
Okay. Thank you. Nanti I think let's explore further, in terms of the practice of, maqasid Syariah. Probably next we go through this order, but Datuk Hamdan, you can prepare. And apa ni at Tabung Haji, how do you see this? What been actually promoted, or rather by Securities Commission, and also bank negara pun ada dia punya VBI kan, but Maqasid Syariah through Securities Commission. How Tabung Haji actually see the implementation of this framework, and satu from the corporate point of view, but actually in terms of lessons that can be learned by individuals, investors like us as well. Macam mana tu?
Thank you, Rushdan. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Before I talk about how Tabung Haji looks at it, maybe I would like to also say that I'm not an Ustaz, but I learned from Ustaz. I learned something that I view from TikTok actually, but hopefully maybe Ustaz boleh betulkan kalau saya salah. Okay, one thing is that one thing about the Quran is that about only 3% of the Quran is mentioning about rules, about commands, about prohibitions. So the other 97% of the Quran is talking about ethics, about relationship between creation and creator, creation and creation, purpose of life, morality, how we use reasons in faith, and also how do we be self-critical. So from that angle, if we take the model of Al-Quran, in other words, we can see both are important. The form and the substance, both are important. But the focus or the emphasis is on the substance. right? And how I look at Islamic principles in terms of Sharia investing, there's two. One is halal, one is tayyib, halalan tayyiban. Halal is the Sharia compliant, is the form, right? It's important, but emphasis would be on the substance, which is the tayyib, halalan tayyiban. Halal is lawful, tayyib is good. So when it's lawful, we have to take another guide, which is it good for us? Is it good for humanity? Is it good for the earth? Is it good for the environment? Is it good for our family, community, and so on, right? So when we talk about Maqasid Syariah in terms of Tabung Haji, we have already established a sustainable framework where we put Maqasid Syariah as the overarching concept or overarching mandate, right? Or rules or values that we put in our sustainability framework. And maybe has not been touched. What is Maqasid Syariah? Because I guess today we have heard about Maqasid Syariah, but maybe it's not clear what is Maqasid Syariah. As mentioned by Ustaz just now, it's to preserve, to protect, to benefit faith, to benefit life in terms of dignity, social justice, social equality, safety, right? And then in terms of protecting the mind, in terms of noble values, being responsible, and then to protect property, to protect wealth. That's also part of being Maqasid Syariah, right? Against corruption, manipulation, and violation, right? And then the last one is ancestry, which is to protect the lineage, the health, the social part, and so on. So those are the 5 elements of Maqasid Syariah that Tabung Haji will embrace or have embraced in our investment activities and also decision making. For example, when we, besides just looking at Sharia compliant, we also look into whether it's beneficial to the community, whether we put the screen off, whether it's positive to the economy, right? Not only from the, just now on the second session too, we are not just buying numbers. We are also buying other than numbers, right? We are buying in terms of our belief in the company, whether the company is doing the right thing. When we do investment, as a person, I would say, put ourselves as an individual, right? As a Muslim individual, like myself, I would say, is that the right company to invest in? Are they doing the right thing? Are they violating anything that is against the Maqasid Syariah? Those are the questions that we have to ask. And it's in our process whereby all our investment activities and decision making will have to go through our Syariah as well as risk management before it's being brought to our investment panel and then maybe to the board or even the minister. So we have a very structured Syariah governance that we always put in, and besides that, we always muhasabah diri. Muhasabah in terms of after we have made the investment, our Syariah team will always have a review on the investment. Does it still hold in terms of the Maqasid Syariah, right? Do we need to relook again on our investment? Has things changed? That's where we have to understand the fundamentals post-investment, not only pre-investment, but post-investment. So the review is always being done on regular basis. Then after that, we have to decide whether we still have to hold on to the investment or to let go, right? So maybe I pause there first.
All right, thank you. And then, probably I can expand further, Datuk Hamdan.
Thanks, Rushdan. I think much has been said by my learned colleagues. Probably I will just complement what has been said. Obviously, I think for my Muslim friends here, and the fact is that Islam is basically a way of life, and it's a middle path. It's not extremes. And I think, as what has been said, that it is governed by this code of the fact that you have that you are adhering to the rules that has been set by God, and intent is that you're accountable for it. And as trustee, that you are not only needing to ensure that you manage your own personal affairs, but you're accountable for the wider sets of issues, which is also the issue of the fact that it is not only individual issue, issues, but rather the broader societal issues also. Now, I thought I will move away from the issue of maqasid towards the fact that where are we today? In a sense that, all this is said well and good. The reality is that when I went to school, maybe about, 30 years ago or more, we learned a concept in economics called externality. And the principle was such that you governed everything on the view to say there is externality, and you established that that externality is out there. And you then allow that externality to be carried by society at large. Now, this externality is what is very visible, things like you pollute the air, or you overconsume your land resources or overexploit. So the principle is, at the end of the day, is that if you are God's trustee, if you are guided by a moral code of living, ethics, and as what I said, there's only 3% related to law that sets the boundary conditions. The rest of it is about how we govern ourselves, our intent, niyyah, in terms of what we embark on, our actions, and how is it that we are able to ensure that what we do is not at the point of exploiting, over-consuming, creating negative externality, and so on. If that is happening, then the issue then rises to say that these are not definitely the situations where you're not in compliant with what Sharia establishes. Because I think that's important, that we need to understand that we are operating in a world where we are at crossroads. The crossroads where we need to think and make those choices. The fault lines of our actions are now the last 100 years of growth, the pathways that have been chosen, is coming to home to roost. And this is manifested in terms of the current challenges that we see in our society. The immediate challenge we see, the broad issue of inequality that we see between the have and have-nots. We live in a situation, what Charles Dickens says, the tale of two cities, or the situation of what we see when it comes to issues of climate. I have here Tan Sri, who chairs the WWF, and he's probably has seen a lot of these issues in terms of environmental compliance. How is it that we are adhering to it? Because everywhere we are in a situation where we are facing a catastrophe that's emerging. But yet, we are still continuing to exploit, continuing to overconsume, and continuing on the same pathway that is leading us to possibly extinction. Now, this is where I thought maybe we need to ask ourselves, while the principles are clear, how are we actually able to govern our behavior, particularly when it comes to choice of how eventually in this conference here about how we are investing our capital. Now, this is where that responsibility will arise, in a sense that the man is responsible for his actions and he's accountable for his actions. So with that, maybe I'll pause.
Excellent. All right. Thanks, Dr. Hamdan. So, mungkin the next question, Ustaz boleh tanya you. I think maybe this one, maybe ramai yang also nak tahu pasal zakat. Since you pengutip zakat, apa ni dalam investment, macam mana pengiraan zakat atas keuntungan ni boleh dikatakan macam capital gains tax ke? Tak kan? But anyway, macam mana calculation untuk zakat untuk retail, but also today memang ramai daripada asset management companies also here. So I think they also pay zakat for their Islamic fund management. So how the calculation works, and I think more importantly mungkin kita juga nak tahu macam mana nanti PPZ pula lepas uruskan kutipan zakat ni dan ke mana channel dia. Terima kasih.
Okay. To cut short the answer, just come to us and we calculate. Why the hassle?
Nak tahu juga macam mana. How do you come up to that figure lah? Yeah.
Okay. When we talk about investment, it relates to business. When we talk about business, zakat on business is calculated by adding what we call the equity or the modal, the principal, and also the profit. Principal plus profit less cost, and you get the net amount, and then from the net amount you time 2.5%. This is the straightaway calculation. If we go deeper to business calculation, we need to have the accounts, and whereby the account is prepared using the working capital methodology or growth model methodology. We need to look into the accounting that has been prepared, and from the accounting we will take the net current asset and also the net current liability. Net current asset tolak net current liability, and we will get the answer, and then we do the adjustment, and after the adjustment we will time 2.5% to get the zakat base or zakat amount. That's why I say you come to us, we calculate, easier. Okay? But then you have to know your responsibility. You have to enlighten your customer to do the zakat, because whether you are a Muslim or not, whether, of course lah, your customer has to be Muslim, then only they obliged to pay zakat. So you have the responsibility to remind them. If you are not a Muslim, doing the reminder towards your client is a good deed for you, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will repay you in this world immediately. It's a good thing for you to do. You remind people of doing good. Of course, the good deed will, the reward of the good deed will come back to you. What you give, you get back. Just like the scorpion used to sing. What you give, you get back. Okay? But I'm not singing in this evening. It will be a thunderstorm afterwards. So, that is the mere calculation. But when you ask about where the money goes, people always asking where the money goes. I would like to start with a bit of my experience when I was working in Masjid Negara 15 years back. 15 years back. You said 30 years back. You are older than me lah, okay? So, 15 years back. And what? 30 years back, you dah belajar pasal ekonomi. Oh, terror lah. Hebat lah gitu. Aku dulu main betul sekalian je, 30 tahun dulu. Okay lah, boleh lah. Okay. 15 years back, when I was staying in Masjid Negara, the counter, the zakat counter, there was a man, Malay man, Muslim, with kopiah some more, come to the counter, over the counter, and ask me questions. I thought he was the CEO of Khazanah Nasional. Because the question, okay, what you do with the money? Do you invest the money? Do you this? Do you do that? What do you do? Wow, CEO of Khazanah Nasional in front of me, tanya macam-macam. Okay, but he haven't paid a single cent of zakat yet. And he asked questions like the general auditor of the nation. But never mind. Suddenly I pray to Allah SWT. Not pray in front of them, inside my heart lah. Of course lah, tak ada tiba-tiba, Ya Allah, tolonglah aku hari ini. No. Just to think it quietly. So just I pray to Allah SWT, Ya Allah, can you give this man some kind of enlightenment that can enlighten him, that making him paying zakat, not just asking for what Allah SWT will repay him afterwards. That is the problem of trust. Okay, when we talk about zakat, usually people have problem of trust. Trusting Allah SWT at the first place, and also trusting the authorities that utilize the zakat money. Okay, so Alhamdulillah, my prayer has been granted by Allah SWT. Suddenly came two women. Kalau orang Cina sebut asor. Okay, came 2%, barging into the zakat counter, and I said, when we used to work at Masjid Negara, we used to have plenty of visitors from China come to Masjid Negara and visit the mosque. So I thought this is also from the Tanah Besar China lah kan. So I said, I'm sorry if you want to visit the mosque, okay, suddenly the slang tukar tau. If you want to visit the mosque, go upstairs, not here. So no, we are Malaysians. Okay. Secondly, no, I usually come here every month. Dia kata, every month come here. Why? I pay lah. Ini apa? Zakat kan? Ayo. And from that particular time, I know that Allah granted me and answered me for my prayer. She come over, put 50 ringgit on the counter, and I processed the payment. Of course, we didn't process it as zakat. We processed it as other source of income. And then I gave her the receipt, and she deliberately said that, Ustaz, kau make Ustaz, Ustaz kan? Ustaz, you know why I pay? Every time I pay, Allah will grant me more for my business. Ayo. Kamu siam, kau isai lah ya. So suddenly the woman left, and also left the man baffled. Like that. Suddenly he took his wallet out, 10 ringgit, and paid the zakat. 10 ringgit, ayo, so many questions, 10 ringgit lah, ya, cuma set. Kan? Why? Because no trust. But what we are doing with your money? Okay. This one I have to read. Because we have I can particularly say what we are doing in wilayah Persatuan Kuala Lumpur, in Federal Territory. In wilayah, we have 3, particularly Kuala Lumpur, Putrajaya, and also Labuan. It's merely 3 states being governed in one Federal Territory. Okay. What we are doing is, we distribute all the zakats throughout 30 over schemes that is derived from the 8 recipients. We know that according to Surah At-Tawbah, chapter number 10, verse number 60, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala said, "Innama sadaqatu lil fuqara." The zakat is for the 8 recipients, for the poor, for the needy, fakir and miskin, and also for the amil who works collecting and also distributing the zakat. And then wal mu'allafati qulubuhum, for the mu'allaf, wa fi riqab wal gharimin wa fi sabilillah wa ibn sabil. Also, you can read the subtitle. Okay. From the 8 recipient, we divide it into 30 over schemes that covers welfare. Monthly financial aid, supply of everything.
Before that, in terms of the what sort of ringgit and cents we're talking about,
okay,
every year collection zakat.
Oh, ringgit and cents. Suddenly statistics. Okay, never mind. Ringgit and cents. As Tan Sri mentioned in the first session, the most promising state in Malaysia is Kuala Lumpur and also Selangor lah. Okay, it's Federal Territory and also Selangor. Selangor, I think they have collected for the last year, for the year 2023, amounting to RM 1 billion and 1.1 billion. Okay, 1.1 billion. Whereby PPZ, we just hit the 1 billion number last year, Alhamdulillah, 1.038 billion. So that's the number lah. Merely collection, cash, duit, banyak. Tapi orang selalu tanya, pergi mana duit tu? Hilang, tak tahu. Hilang tak tahu tu sebab you tak tengok kita orang punya report. Pasal tu tak tahu. People are not looking into the report. People are looking into the social media. People are living under the bridge. People are living there, here and there. What zakat do? Zakat makan duit haram and what not. Everybody, we facing the curse from the netizen each and every day. I've been faced more than that. You, neraka. Tahu? Sedih tau, kena neraka tiap-tiap hari. Bukan senang. Emotional damage somehow. Okay, I would like to continue about with regards to the distribution. Welfare, monthly financial aid, supply of basic necessities aid, Aidil Fitri aid, special incentive aid, debt settlement, asnaf khairat, fair and personal needs, dakwah and charity activities, marital assistance. You want to get married, you can get zakat as well, but for the first wife only. Second wife, third wife, no. Emergency aid, disaster aid, Shariah legal assistance. You have pending cases in court, you want to go, you have no money to pay the lawyer, you can get the Shariah law or Shariah legal assistance. From the economical part, business and entrepreneurial guidance aid, agricultural, poultry, fishing assistance, medical, general health assistance, hemodialysis, person with disabilities, kids with special assistance, health equipment assistance, protection, house deposits and monthly rental assistance. We have nearly 130,000 packs receiving zakat each month in federal territory. 130,000 over packs, person, head. And we have also 30,000 families that receive. You do the calculation, just a brief calculation, when a family can receive up to 1,000 to 2,500 per month of zakat aid. Can you imagine how many that we need every month? Okay? Alright? Itu iklan lah tu. Nak bagi orang terasa sikit. Okay. Education, general assistance for schooling, boarding school, IPT and whatnot. We have our esteemed college, College Professional Baitul Mal Kuala Lumpur, University UCMI just promoted to a university status, Baitul Mal Scholarship Special Incentive for Excellent Students, Encouragement Incentive for Al-Quran Memorization, School Scholarship Assistance, Education Loan Settlement Aid, School clothing and supplies assistance, and also for the community development, dakwah and welfare activity, disaster relief, assistance to tahfiz, assistance to agencies, and also we have a home shelter for the what we call when I read MAIWP interpretation for the house for the problematic women. Wow, problematic women. Women are always problem, but I know problematic women. So what problematic women? Oh, ini yang kena buang, kena zina, kena rape, apa semua tu. They need to have shelter. Dia mengandung, kemudian dia tak ada shelter. Then they come to us. Okay, kita lah yang jadi bapa yang menjaganya, bukan ayam, tapi bapa lah. Bapa dan ibu yang menjaga mereka. We give them shelter. We have Darus Saadah. The Darus Saadah is the house designated for to help the unfortunate women and also kids. Okay, we have the Darul Kifayah, the house that we cater for the students and also for the children of the asnaf. We give them school, we give them food and whatnot. We give them shelter, put them into the boarding school inside the Darul Kifayah and whatnot. So these are the distribution that you can see actually what we are doing each and every day, and where the money goes. So please read our reports and please do subscribe to our TikTok, Instagram and whatnot. Don't just only subscribe. Huh?
You TikToker, Ustaz?
I'm not a TikToker. I'm not a fan of TikTok actually. Okay. But yalah, takkan you subscribe KJ je. Kita orang subscribe lah juga kan. Buka je lah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, terima kasih Ustaz. So, yeah, Alhamdulillah. So, now I think we are clearer in terms of the where the zakat contribution goes to, and also I think after this maybe also kita boleh cakap sekejap pasal wakalah. Okay, that one is also quite interesting because CGS ini pun kita punya commercial break sejak for CGS International. We also pay zakat for our Islamic business, and we participated in wakalah program. So actually for last year we also sponsor the Asnaf students from your university. So, 50 students. To actually langsaikan diorang punya PT-PTN. Okay, and actually there's a question from the audience to you, Ustaz. Tapi lepas tu, I think I'll pass the floor to Mustakim, because just for you to prepare as I think probably the biggest zakat contributor in Malaysia, and how do you see your role, and how probably you can see how to better if needed lah, the system, and also then after that maybe both you and Datuk Hamdan can talk about other avenues, wakaf and also sedekah lah. Yeah. Okay. Soalan untuk Ustaz dulu, sorry, daripada Luqman. I don't know mana saudara Luqman. Dia bertanya, does MAIWP invest the fund received from zakat collection, and how MAIWP diversify its asset beside zakat collection?
Who? Ask MAIWP lah. Why ask me?
Sorry, ask PP. I rephrase. Does PPZ?
Okay, never mind. Why question to me? Okay. Does MAIWP do investment? MAIWP or PPZ? I'm representing PPZ. And PPZ is one of the subsidiaries of MAIWP actually, okay? To make it clear, PPZ is one of the MAIWP subsidiaries. So we are being mandated to collect zakat and also wakaf. We are newly being mandated to collect wakaf since December 2022, okay? And yet before wakaf being collected by the Pusat Wakaf MAIWP, and then they give the task to us to collect zakat and also wakaf in Federal Territory, Kuala Lumpur, Putrajaya and also Labuan. Okay, to talk about investment, yes, basically we do the investment, but being monitored closely, not every money goes to the investment, no. You have to do some investment for you to have a sustainable amount of money. Okay. When I talk about sustainable, we face a challenge during COVID pandemic era. Do you know what happened to the when people are getting retrenched from work, they are getting fired, and there's no pay, they're not getting paid by sitting at home and doing not know what else can they do, and so on. And also the campaign of Kibar Bendera Putih, we have experienced that before during the COVID time. So during the COVID time, there is a significant increase of recipients. I can say it is over nearly 300%. Okay? Nearly 300%. And if you don't do the investment, where can you get the money to help them? Okay? I just want to throw this question to you, because investment of zakat money is, yes, debatable, but I want to put out a historical evidence on what the Prophet and also the companions are doing with the zakat money. The zakat money, or the zakat, we call the zakat that has been collected from the Muslims that time. From zakat at that time is being collected, zakat not by the way of collecting money, because money and business is something that they did in that era, but zakat has they pay zakat in the form of livestock and whatnot. Okay, they pay zakat in the form of camel, in the form of kambing, what you call kambing, goat, bukan goat ke, sheep and what not lah. Sheep lah, lupa pula lah sheep in English kan. Apa lagi? Dates. They collected zakat in the form of dates. Okay. Cuba kalau sekarang ni kita bagi dates to you, memang tak nak lah. Kurma. Memang macam tu lah kan. Memang orang nak duit lah sekarang ni. But that time, the zakat is collected like that. Okay. Dates. When you collect dates, can you invest dates? No. Sebab dates macam tu je lah. Dia tak boleh beranak. But when you put a camel, a jantan one and a betina one, inside a kandang, and what the jantan and betina will do? Ni petang dah ni tuan-tuan. What the jantan and betina will do? They will, and then beranak lah kan. That is the form of investment zakat money at that time. Don't you realize it? It has been done since our Prophet Muhammad SAW era. Okay? When you put into under a shepherd or under one feedlot and whatnot, they will breed. And breeding is a form of investment. So zakat money actually can be invested. So we are doing investment. Okay, you can read you can read our financial report. There is an investment.
Do you appoint any external fund managers to manage?
Currently, I don't think. No. But if you want to,
if you
want to give proposal, never mind lah. Come lah. We can see lah.
Okay.
Come lah, come.
There you go. Yeah.
There's a chance lah. There's a chance lah. There always we always open a door for everybody. No problem. Okay. Okay. So, of course lah CJS minta kan dah. CJS yang taja hari ni boleh lah kan. Sekejap lagi orang lain pula minta, kita pun okay come juga. Tak tahulah juga kan macam mana. So that is what we doing with the zakat. The second question is what? I forgot.
I pun dah lupa dah. Dia kata
You pun dah lupa.
how you diversify your
diversifying the assets.
Assets, yeah.
This is a long. How do we diversify? Of course lah. We
summary
have,
summary je.
Summary. We don't have any big, any significant financial assets. From my point of view, we don't have any. We don't have. Investment in sukuk and whatever, just merely a plain financial asset investment and
money market.
Yeah. Basically money market. We have yet to explore into the capital market and whatnot, but most of our assets is in the form of PPE lah, building and whatnot. Okay, wallahu alam.
Okay, thank you. Pass over to Mustakim to expand on the zakat and the role from Tabung Haji punya perspective. Yep.
Alright. As you all know, Tabung Haji pays zakat on behalf of our depositors. Actually, Tabung Haji is not obliged or required to pay zakat as an institution. As an institution, we are not required to pay zakat. But Majlis Fatwa Kebangsaan has already accorded that we have to pay on behalf of our depositors. So the zakat that we pay every year, which amounts to about 100 million every year, right? We pay on behalf of our depositors. So in other words, our depositors, when they receive the profit distribution, is already clean of zakat obligation. They don't have to pay any more zakat based on the savings that they have with Tabung Haji. So it's already clean. So to promote as well, for example, if a fund pays 5% and the fund does not pay on behalf the zakat, so if minus 2.5, you are left with 2.5. For example, Tabung Haji, we distribute out 3.1 last year or the past few years. So it's not like 3.1 plus 2.57. By the way, we pay 2.57 per annum. Why 2.57 not 2.5? Is because we use the Masihi calendar. Our financial statement is based on the Masihi calendar, which is ended at the end of December. So Hijri and Masihi calendar is different. So we have to impute the difference of about 2 weeks into the calculation of 2.5, then it becomes 2.57. So coming back to just now, for example, we pay 3.1, is already clean of zakat. If you take another fund which pays, for example, 5% or even 6%, you minus 2.5 is even lower than 3.1. So sometimes that need to be considered as well when we compare in terms of the return, right? And then when how we pay zakat to our to the respective states, how it's being divided, the 100 million, we divide based on the savings in each state. So it's fair. So we have a record of savings in each state. Then out of the 100 million, we divide according to the proportion of deposits balance in the respective states. So obviously, as mentioned just now, Selangor and Wilayah is the highest recipient of zakat from Tabung Haji, right? Besides that, Tabung Haji also requests zakat wakalah from the state authorities, the Majlis Agama Islam, and normally we get about 30 odd million zakat wakalah from the states, and we have our own program. And our program is divided into 3 main activities. One in terms of helping asnaf in education, right? And then we have another one which is helping the community and also health related. And then the third one is entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship, we work together with Bank Islam, our associate company. They have Sadaqah House, where they give out microfinancing which is free of interest, right? It's Qadrul Hasan, whereby they help those who cannot or doesn't fit the bill in terms of getting financing from banking system. They can get through Sadaqah House, no interest being charged, right? And yet the beauty is that we Sadaqah House initially thought that they're not getting back the money to roll over and give to other people, but surprisingly, the rate of recovery is quite high, even though without any track record or whether they are bankable or not, and so on, right? So that's the beauty of zakat wakalah. Besides helping the community, we also give them the opportunity to develop themselves through microfinancing, right? So that they can eventually one day become the zakat payer. Not only the zakat recipient, zakat payer. We have seen a lot of examples where they have transformed from being a zakat recipient for a number of years, suddenly they now become zakat payer because they also want to contribute. They feel the benefit of getting the zakat, and now they want to contribute back to the community. So those are the zakat practices by Tabung Haji. We have been paying zakat since 1979, right? And we will continue to pay, and we will continue to basically help the community through zakat, insyaAllah.
MasyaAllah. Okay. Thank you, Mustakim. So, yalah, banyak betul yang benefits from zakat. Tapi zakat ni kira macam the very minimal punya requirement lah for us kan, our responsibility kalau we have more wealth with us. So maybe I think we can look at and discuss a bit on the the other pillars or the other avenues where we can channel our money and also even to invest. So maybe we can talk a bit about wakaf and also sadaqah.
What do you call, indeed, I think zakat, as it says, is to purify your source of wealth, and obviously sadaqah is something that you do as part of your role to be ensuring that those who are lesser in fortune are also benefiting from the the risk that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. So sadaqah is purely you can call it a gift or an aid that you give out. Zakat is compulsory. It's not, it's mandatory. So there's no negotiation on it. While Waqaf is more dynamic. Waqaf is something that you are not doing, it's not quote unquote a tax. It's not a sadaqah that you're giving out as a gift, but rather you are putting in place a source of sustained return, by virtue that this return is both in terms, it can be financial, but more importantly, actually return for your hereafter, by virtue that if you are endowing, and the word in the case of Waqaf is actually endowment. You're endowing something. In this case, you can endow land, building. You can endow, in some places they even endow taxis. You can endow many forms of things that can become productive source on which you can then generate returns.
Unta pun boleh, unta.
Boleh. In the case, there's a productive source. It's just that you will need, in the case of unta, that it has got a finite life, lah. And the responsibility of Waqaf institution is to ensure that those resources are sustained. So there must be an element of making sure that it is both, there's growth and sustainability. And I think this is where, for those who would like to have an impact on, say, broader issues of society, because as I mentioned earlier that we as human beings, there are things called fardu kifaya, and that you want to be involved in ensuring that you play your role as a member of society. An example would be that you create an endowment for education. You set aside RM1 million and you contribute to an institution that will oversee this. And in this, for the Muslims, this is typically is taken care by the established authorities to ensure that there's accountability and governance of this, and you want to ensure that it grows over time. So that RM1 million that is invested is actually that you stipulate that to say that the returns is to be used for purpose of education. So stipulation of what the purpose is also fundamental. And I think it's key in a sense that, now if you look at in the history, Zakat was used as an instrument, as I think Ustaz says earlier, to deal with the fact that the 8 categories that has been defined in the Quran, that means those who are entitled to benefit from this, in English term, the use is tithe or tax, or commonly, in the sense that intended to, so that you deal with the issue of poverty and for misfortune specifically, and also for those who are playing the role as collectors of zakah. And the 8 categories, you get 12.5% is categorized to to those 8 categories. And usually in practice is that the intent is that what is collected is distributed on an annual basis. Surpluses, you ensure that you distribute it so that people do not live in a state of poverty, and so on. So that's the system of how Islam has designed the system so that that you don't have the situation between, reduce the distance between the have and have-nots. But in the case of Waqaf, Waqaf has been used in what I would call as a source to provide stability to the economy as a whole. So it's not only a social function. In the case of particularly the Ottoman Empire, a third of the fiscal finance, I think Ustaz can verify this and probably speak a bit more about it, is that it has been financed through the endowments that has been established. And that it played a wider role to be a source of stability into the economy. And the endowment that you have put in place then provides the basis for sustained, financing. Now, obviously, the endowment then needs to be managed. So this is where those who are endowing, you have a role. You are doing this with a view to say that you are playing a role as a member of society. Those who are managing, there's also that responsibility to ensure that it creates the surplus and recurring income. Probably I paused it.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so if you have any questions, use the Slido. Please keep the questions flowing in. I will try to post the questions to the panelists. Maybe since you briefly mentioned about ESG, maybe this next round we talk a bit about ESG and how that actually how do we see us, especially Tabung Haji, Khazanah, especially PPZ, we are operating in this Islamic ecosystem. How do you see that? Because people talk about convergence and all that, I don't think that will happen. But anyways, how do you see that relationship between ESG and Islamic finance or Mokasid, investing? Or maybe, yeah, we'll start with you, Datuk.
Okay, obviously, like I said earlier, that we're living in interesting times, and I touched on this issue about externality and so on. Now, in the last 2 decades, the conversation has definitely become more mainstream about the fact that what was seen to be, in the past it was called CSR and then become socially responsible. Today it's a lot more established into making sure that you have a more defined standard about ESG as a basis to ensure that people play their roles as Khalifa. By virtue that you want to ensure that issues of environment, society and governance are given very strong adherence, and ensuring that the investing public and the investment community plays their role as the people who are deploying capital. Because by virtue that that capital needs to then use productively, but in a responsible manner. Now, ESG definitely is a standard that's emerged. In particularly case in the business community, ESG. At the economy level, I think it's looked at in the context of SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, and so on. So definitely there's a shift in the narrative that we are seeing in the marketplace. But more recently, there's also this broader, I would call to say that it's not only about shareholder, it's also about stakeholder. Where the fact that we cannot ignore the fact that that you can't generate profits at the expense of society at large, and you need to ensure that you pay your labor rightly, you produce your things in the right manner, and you pay your taxes and everything else that goes with it and so on. Now, if we look at Sharia investments probably, that is the basis of Sharia investments. That it sets a benchmark to ensure that that moral code is defined to be, that you need to ensure that it is avoiding those harmful activities. It is complying to ensure that it doesn't exploit. It is ensuring that you execute things in a responsible manner, and having the right intent and all that. So I see that Sharia investments is probably the gold standard. While ESG will have to reach the Sharia, benchmark. This is what I observe. I feel in the sense that there is much room for ESG to come to this issue of what they call. While for Sharia itself, I see that it needs to deal with the fact that much of today is still in the context of halal. And I think, I'm sure the conversation this morning dealt with this, that there's great room for us to grow and deal with the issue of how to make it tayyib. Because eventually, all of this will be reflected in what we see in society. Have we been able to reduce the pollution? Have we been able to ensure that there's lesser inequality? Have we been able to deal with the fact that there will be lesser poverty? Now, I'll just probably give some data points so that at least it will trigger a bit of reflection. As much as I think I have PPZ and others who are doing the efforts towards distributing trying to collect and distribute and so on, why do we deal with the increasing situation of poverty? And poverty is projected to increase in the coming years by virtue of the fact that if you look at the balance of most of Malaysians, they have very little savings and probably do not have enough to survive through their aging period. And Malaysia is already moving into an aging society. So there is an emerging environment where we will see that there would be a larger number of aging members in our society who will face challenges in the context of the fact that they will not have enough, both in terms of rising healthcare costs, cost of living, and the fact that they have very little balance. So this is going to be kind of challenges in the sense that how would we will start dealing with it. There are other issues about, we can talk about carbon, all of this, climate issues, where, all of our activities is definitely contributing to increasing level of rise in temperatures, and eventually that, we are going to face a bigger crisis and so on. But this is something that we need to understand, both in terms of our consumption and production activities. How are we going to ensure that we get to the middle path of finding that balance?
Thank you. Also, I think this silver economy and EPF contribution issue, I think we dealt with it last year in the Shariah conference, Tan Sri, remember? It's a very good session. Oh, no, 2 years ago. Yeah. So, yes. Mustakim, and your take on the ESG and Sharia compliant investment?
Okay. My view is the same as Datuk Hamdan just now, whereby ESG is actually, to me, is a subset of Maqasid Syariah. If you meet the Maqasid Syariah values, then obviously you will meet the ESG values, right? But through the lens of Islamic values, right? But to me, ESG, the brand of ESG or the compliance of ESG has helped in a way Sharia compliant to really put it into a more structured screening of investments. With the information that now companies are giving out in terms of disclosures, in terms of data points, it helps Sharia investing in a big way. Because in the past, maybe Sharia investing may not be the theme of the day, but with ESG, it helps to amplify further the intersection between Sharia compliant as well as ESG. With the data points that we have from ESG, being ESG compliant and so on, it helps, for example, Tabung Haji and also other Sharia compliant funds to basically look into the perspective of value investing with clear purpose, which is the theme of today, right? So, to me, it's converging, but towards more Maqasid Syariah, rather than both converging to another point, right? So, because if you attain Maqasid Syariah, in my view, you already attain ESG. So, and we believe that macam yang Ustaz cerita tadi lah, when we do it in accordance with what Allah has ordered, for example, in terms of paying the zakat, there will be barakah, there will be multiplier effect to the effort. We may not see it in terms of numbers immediately, but it's the social return that we can see from the effort or from the involvement. So we always believe in that, and as we all know, Tabung Haji is there to facilitate Muslim pilgrims from Malaysia to go for Hajj, which is the 5th pillar of Islam. And we are always asked to be whiter than white because we carry the word Haji. Haji is in the 5th or in the 5 pillars of Islam. So besides looking just at Sharia compliant, we also need to ensure that it is also tayyib to the community. The perception, the ethical practices matters to Tabung Haji because we are expected to be whiter than white. So I guess it complements each other in terms of ESG as well as Maqasid Syariah. But ultimately, as I repeatedly mentioned just now, if we attain Maqasid Syariah in its true sense, in its true value, we already attain ESG. So that's my comment.
Masya Allah. Okay, thank you. Ustaz tadi banyak ditulis apa? So rungkai ya.
Yang tulis okay.
Apa?
Okay. I would like to talk about ESG from 3 verses of Quran, from 3 Quranic verses. Number 1, environmental. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, وَلَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ بَعْدَ إِصْلَاحِهَا. Don't ever or do not mischief on the earth, pollute, manipulate wrongly after it has been ordained by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, this is for the environmental part of what we call that Quranic view on environmental. And social, Ya ayuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa unsa, wa ja'alnakum syu'uban wa qabaila lita'arafu. O mankind, we have created you from female and from male and female, not they or them. Okay, male and female, just 2 gender, no third gender. Okay, okay. So, and we made you into nations and also tribes in order for you to know each other and to benefit from each other. This is from the social part. Whereby the governance part, as I am echoing what Datuk and also Mr. Mustakim said, that we are the Khalifah of Allah, the verses that in the Surah Al-Baqarah, but in order to govern, we have to make better use of the wealth and to ensure that wealth being circulated evenly with just and fairness towards the community. And this is what being stated in the Quran, chapter number 28, verse number 7. Zakina again. كَيْ لَا يَكُونَ دُولَةً بَيْنَ الْأَغْنِيَاءِ مِنْكُمْ. So that the wealth is not only circulated between the wealthy people among you. It's the circulation of economy, is the circulation of wealth that is being stated in the Quran as the principles of ESG. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Just want to add, when we talk about MAIWP investment, MAIWP only invests from the portion of Amil money, not from the other recipients' money, from the administrative portion of Zakat. Wallahu alam. Thank you.
Tahu je Ustaz. Memang ada tadi follow up question. Dia tanya how much from the total asset is set aside for the investment. Somebody want to send their pitch deck to you. So only the portion. So what percent are we talking about?
1/8. This is simply 1/8. Okay.
We can work down the number
Not more than that.
Tadi you dah cakap dah tadi total berapa
the
kan?
total berapa
Yeah.
you can calculate,
Okay.
and you can pitch lah afterwards. Tengoklah macam mana.
Okay, excellent. So I think we gonna wrap up this session. We're gonna finish slightly earlier, but gonna leave some time for people to do. To get your coffee or tea and toilet break. But anyway, probably we're gonna just do one last round, last words of wisdom, peranan dan tanggungjawab kita sebagai investor, human being, and also as investor lah. So whoever want to take it first, Datuk Hamdan. Yep.
Sure. I think at the end of the day, I think investment is in fact it's a big responsibility. Investments mean that you have got surplus from your what your needs are, and that you want to make sure that it is invested productively and generating a surplus return. And I think it's important when we do that, our action in doing that, we need to understand and have that moral responsibility to know what that is being used for. While we have entrusted, but it's also important that we don't just pass over the responsibility. So accountability is something that we have to own, and we cannot be accountable for it. As a Muslim, I think the fact is that you are going to be accountable for anything that is your surplus. And in fact, in Islam, as I think Ustaz says in the beginning, you are expected to grow your wealth. It's a responsibility. And at the same time, you are expected to ensure that you, not only empathetic, but rather to also know of the state of affairs of your fellow human being. Know each other. La tara'afu, as Ustaz said earlier. And I think it's important then to say that when we are investing, please think about what your capital is being used. Think about the consequence of your investment activities. Because your capital is what eventually is defining the circumstances of what we then eventually, manifest itself out there. If you see today there's problems of inequality, issues of environment, or lack of governance, then it all comes from the fact that the individual is going to be accountable for it. So maybe I'll pause here and say that there's importance to ensure that we as investors play our part effectively.
Mustakim?
Okay. Saya rasa semua pun tahu hadis ni, dalam tubuh kita ada satu daging, jika baik daging itu, baiklah semuanya, jika buruk daging itu, buruklah semuanya, dan daging itu adalah hati. So when we want to make any investment decisions, we have to ask ourselves, our heart, is this the right thing to do? As a human, as a father, as the community leader, or as the rakyat, as the leader, and so on, is that the right thing to do? So always ask our heart, and you will find the answer. So that is value investing. That's all from me.
Thank you. And finally, Ustaz?
Okay, I think we have to start to emphasize more on value-based or value-aligned investing. Start to think about what our investing can give back to the community. And I would like to share with you a story. Maybe some of us know the story. Robert T. Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. When he, at the point of time, he had a financial crisis, and he have left with small amount of money. And what he did was, he goes up from his house and find a homeless person. And he gave all the money to the homeless person. And after he gave the money, he suddenly being enlightened with ideas, solutions on what he's having, on what problem that he's having at that time. So my final say is, help those who are in need. Inshallah, Allah will ensure you will succeed. Wallahu alam.
Thank you very much. So thank you once again to all the panelists. The key takeaway from me is actually I cannot outdo KJ lah. So, so for next year's Invest Sharia conference, I'll give him the afternoon session. And but anyway, thank you very much, everyone, for staying and listening to all four of us today. And I'll pass the mic to Nadira. Thank you.
Thank you, Encik Rushdan. We will now proceed with the photography session on stage, please. Together with Tan Sri Wahid and also Encik Khairi.